Here's the truth about attraction: the harder you try to prove your worth, the faster he loses interest. But the moment you stop chasing, the moment you stop bending over backwards for his attention, that's when his curiosity spikes. That's when his energy shifts. Because what we don't fully own, we chase. And when you finally start caring less about what he thinks, he'll start caring a whole lot more about what you're doing. When you walk into a room, before you even open your mouth, people can already feel you. They can sense your vibe, your energy, the way you carry yourself. And that energy speaks louder than anything you could ever say. You don't have to announce who you are or prove your worth. The way you hold yourself does the talking for you. When you're centered, when you're not chasing or begging for validation, that quiet confidence radiates. It's what makes someone lean in closer, even if you haven't moved an inch. Because energy doesn't lie, and people are far more responsive to how you make them feel than the words you throw at them. Think about it like this: if you're constantly over-explaining, over-texting, over-giving, what does that energy say? It doesn't say confidence. It says fear. It says you're scared to lose him, so you'll do anything to hold on. And that doesn't create attraction, it creates pressure. And when someone feels pressured, they pull back. But when you relax into yourself, when you stop overextending, when you stop handing out your worth like a free sample, suddenly the dynamic shifts. He feels it, he notices it, and it makes him pay attention in a way he didn't before. There's something magnetic about a person who doesn't need to force connection. It's that energy of, I'm good either way, not in a cold or dismissive way, but in a way that shows you're not desperate for approval. That's powerful. It makes someone question, why aren't they trying harder? Why aren't they doing what everyone else does? And that's when curiosity takes over. That's when attraction builds, not because you tried harder, but because you stopped trying so hard. Here's the paradox: the more you care about controlling how someone sees you, the less attractive you become. But the less you care about controlling it, the more they're drawn to you. Why? Because people crave authenticity. They want to be around someone who feels at ease in their own skin. And when you embody that, it changes everything. You can see this play out everywhere, in friendships, in dating, in work. If you're desperate for someone to like you, they pick up on that energy and it pushes them away. But if you show up with the energy of, I know my value and I don't need you to confirm it, suddenly you're not chasing, you're attracting, you're not convincing, you're inviting. And people lean into that. The truth is, attraction isn't about being the loudest, the most available, or the one who tries the hardest. It's about how your presence makes someone feel. And nothing feels better than being around someone who isn't needy. Someone who's comfortable, grounded, and not constantly worried about how they're being perceived. That energy is rare, and that's exactly why it pulls people in. So, the less you pour your energy into over-explaining or over-proving, the more space you give for him to step in, to notice, to chase. Because when your energy says, I'm whole with or without you, he's reminded that you're not something he can take for granted. You become the person he wants to figure out, the person he wants to win over. That's the beauty of energy. It does the work for you. And when you finally trust it, you don't need to overcompensate. You don't need to chase. You just have to stand in who you are and let that speak louder than anything you could ever say. Because at the end of the day, energy doesn't lie, and yours is either pulling him closer or pushing him away. Scarcity is one of the most powerful forces in human behavior, and you see it everywhere. The things we want the most are rarely the things that come easy. We don't value what's handed to us with no effort. We value what feels rare, what feels earned, what feels like it could slip away if we don't step up. That's why when you make yourself too available, too accessible, too easy to reach, the sense of value starts to fade. It's not that you're less amazing. It's that the effort required to have you no longer matches the worth you bring to the table. Think about it like this. If someone gave you a diamond every time you walked out the door, eventually you wouldn't even notice it. You'd step over it like it was a piece of gravel. But if someone handed you one diamond after years of searching, suddenly it's priceless. Nothing about the diamond changed. It's still the same stone, but your perception of its value skyrocketed because of how rare it was to find. The same principle applies in relationships. If you're always there, always available, always giving, there's no room for him to feel that sense of rarity. He doesn't get the chance to feel like he's found something special because you've already given it away without him needing to earn it. Now, this doesn't mean you play games. It doesn't mean you manipulate or withhold out of spite. It means you respect your own value enough to protect it. You understand that not everyone gets unlimited access to you because access to you is a privilege. And when you treat it like a privilege, so does he. When you stop saying yes to everything, when you stop rearranging your life just to fit into his, you create scarcity. You create value. And that shift changes how he sees you. People naturally invest more in what feels valuable. If he feels like your time, your attention, your energy are things he has to show up for, he's more likely to rise to the occasion. But if he feels like no matter what he does, you'll always be there, always waiting, always giving, then there's no urgency, no effort, no appreciation. And over time, that's when interest fades. Not because you're not enough, but because you've made yourself too much, too available, too accessible, too easy to overlook. This is where the power of restraint comes in. When you pull back, when you allow space, you give him the chance to miss you. You give him the chance to notice your absence, to feel the gap when you're not constantly filling it. That space is where desire grows. That space is where he realizes, wait, I don't want to lose this. And it's only when he feels that tension of scarcity that he truly begins to value what he has. It's not about withholding love or pretending not to care. It's about balancing the equation. It's about making sure the effort he gives matches the access he gets. And when you hold that line, you don't just protect your own worth, you magnify it. You teach him that your presence is something to be cherished, not something to be taken for granted. Because in the end, what's rare is respected, and what's everywhere is overlooked. Silence is one of the most underrated tools you can use in a relationship. Most people are terrified of it. They feel like if they don't respond right away, if they don't fill every gap with words, if they don't explain themselves over and over, then the other person might lose interest. But here's the truth. Silence doesn't push someone away, it pulls them in. It creates space for curiosity, and curiosity is the heartbeat of attraction. When you're always quick to reply, always eager to respond, always ready with an answer, there's no mystery left. He doesn't have to wonder what you're thinking because you've already told him. He doesn't have to lean in because you're already leaning all the way out. And over time, that constant availability can start to dull the spark. But when you pause, when you don't rush, when you leave moments of silence, you create a gap. And human nature hates gaps. We want to fill them. That's when his mind starts to wander. That's when he starts asking himself questions. That's when he starts chasing answers instead of just receiving them. Think about the last time you were texting someone who didn't reply right away. Even if you didn't want to admit it, you thought about it. You checked your phone again. You wondered, what are they doing? Why haven't they answered? Are they busy? Are they thinking about me? That's curiosity at work. And curiosity makes you care more than you did 5 minutes earlier. That's the power of silence. It gives him room to think about you instead of you constantly reminding him you're there. And it's not just about texting, it's in conversation too. If you're always filling every pause with nervous chatter, you don't give him the chance to process your presence. But if you can sit in silence confidently, if you can hold eye contact without needing to rush, that silence speaks volumes. It says, I'm comfortable here. I don't need to fill the air to feel worthy. And that confidence is unforgettable. Silence is also powerful because it creates contrast. If you're always talking, always explaining, always available, then your presence feels predictable. But if you pull back, if you let silence do some of the heavy lifting, suddenly your words carry more weight when you do speak. Your presence feels more intentional. And in a world where everyone is competing for attention, being the one who doesn't overshare, who doesn't overtalk, who doesn't overexplain, that's what stands out. Now, this isn't about playing games or giving someone the silent treatment. That's manipulation. This is about choosing where your energy goes. It's about understanding that you don't owe every second of your time or every thought in your head. Sometimes the most attractive thing you can do is simply not rush. Let him sit with the space. Let him miss your words. Let him wonder what's on your mind. Because the truth is, silence builds anticipation. It makes your presence feel like something to lean into instead of something that's always chasing after him. It's in that anticipation where attraction grows stronger. Because when you stop filling every moment, you give him the space to fill it with you. And the less you say, the more he listens. Boundaries are one of the clearest signals of self-respect, and nothing is more attractive than someone who knows where they stand. Too often, people confuse being agreeable with being lovable. They think saying yes all the time will make someone stay. They think never pushing back, never disagreeing, never asking for more will keep the peace. But in reality, the opposite happens. When you erase your own boundaries, you erase your own value. Because if you don't stand for anything, if you let someone walk through every line you've drawn, what you're really saying is, my needs don't matter. And when your needs don't matter to you, why would they matter to him? Every healthy connection requires boundaries, not as walls, not as barriers to keep someone out, but as guides that show them how to love you properly. Boundaries aren't about rejection, they're about direction. They say, here's how I need to be treated. Here's what I will and won't accept. Here's what respect looks like to me. And when you have the courage to hold those lines, you're sending a message louder than words. You value yourself. That kind of energy doesn't push someone away. It pulls them closer. The truth is, boundaries test people. They test whether he's really invested in you or just in what he can get from you. When you say no to something that doesn't align with your values, the wrong person will get frustrated and pull back. But the right person will respect you more, because deep down, everyone is drawn to people who know their worth. It's not weakness that inspires attraction, it's strength. And strength shows up in boundaries. Think about it. If you never set limits, you're teaching him that your time isn't valuable, your feelings don't count, and your voice doesn't matter. You're teaching him that he can put in the bare minimum and still get the maximum from you. But when you set boundaries, you flip the script. You're teaching him that your attention has to be earned, your time has to be respected, and your presence isn't guaranteed just because he wants it. That shift changes everything. Boundaries also create balance. Without them, relationships lean too heavily on one side, and the person who gives too much ends up drained, resentful, and unappreciated. But with them, the connection becomes healthier. You give from a place of fullness, not emptiness. You show up because you want to, not because you're afraid of losing him. And when you operate from that space, your presence feels lighter, freer, and more magnetic. It's important to remember that boundaries don't have to be loud or aggressive. Sometimes they're as simple as not answering a late night call when you know it's not respectful. Sometimes it's taking a step back when actions don't match words. Sometimes it's calmly saying, that doesn't work for me, and sticking to it. It's in those small, consistent moments that you teach him how to value you. Not because you demanded it, but because you lived it. And here's the part most people miss: boundaries don't just protect you, they attract the right energy. They filter out the ones who only want easy access and draw in the ones who respect the challenge of earning you. They separate the temporary from the lasting. They make sure the connection isn't just about convenience. it's about commitment. Because at the end of the day, boundaries don't scare the right man away. They make him respect you more. Detachment is one of the hardest things to learn, but it's also one of the most freeing. Most people go into relationships carrying this invisible weight, tying their happiness to the other person's actions. If he calls, they feel good. If he doesn't, they spiral. If he compliments, they glow. If he pulls away, they crumble. That roller coaster is exhausting, and it keeps you trapped in a cycle where your peace is always in someone else's hands. But the moment you detach, not from him, but from the need to control how things turn out, you step into a different kind of power. Detachment doesn't mean you don't care. It doesn't mean you stop loving, stop giving, or stop being present. What it means is that you've stopped making your entire sense of worth depend on what he does or doesn't do. You've taken back your center. You've reminded yourself, my happiness is my responsibility. And when you stand in that space, suddenly the desperation fades. Suddenly the fear of losing him doesn't run the show. You're not clinging, you're not chasing, you're not begging for scraps, you're choosing. And that shift changes the energy between you. People can feel the difference between love and dependency. Love feels light, it feels free, it feels safe. Dependency feels heavy, controlling, suffocating. When you're overly attached to an outcome, when you need him to call, need him to validate, need him to choose, you're not giving love, you're demanding it. And demands create pressure, not desire. But when you detach from the need, when you're okay with whatever comes, he feels that freedom. He feels that you're with him because you want to be, not because you have to be. And that's what makes your presence so much more attractive. Think about the times when you've been around someone who wasn't trying to control the situation, who wasn't desperate to prove anything. Their energy is calm, it's magnetic. You find yourself wanting more of it. That's exactly what happens when you detach. You stop trying to grip so tightly, and that calm draws him in. The less you cling, the more he leans. The less you fear losing, the more he wants to stay. It's the paradox of attraction. The moment you stop needing it, you create more of it. Detachment also protects you, because when you're not obsessed with controlling every detail, you stop tolerating things that don't serve you. You're not so afraid of losing him that you accept less than you deserve. Instead, you're able to see clearly. You're able to say, if this works, great. If it doesn't, I'll still be okay. That mindset keeps you grounded, and it prevents you from chasing someone who isn't chasing you back. The beautiful thing is that detachment doesn't just change how he sees you, it changes how you see yourself. You realize you're stronger than you thought. You realize your peace isn't as fragile as it used to be. And you realize that you can show up in love without losing yourself in it. That's when relationships stop being about survival and start being about choice. You don't stay because you need him. You stay because you want him. And that choice carries a different kind of power. Because at the end of the day, caring less about the outcome gives you more control over the connection. Confidence is magnetic in a way that nothing else is, and it has everything to do with where you place your value. When you're constantly looking for validation, when you're depending on someone else to tell you you're beautiful, worthy, or enough, you're handing your power away. You're saying, I'll believe it only if you say it. And the problem with that is simple. If someone else can give you worth with their words, they can also take it away with their silence. That's why confidence has to come from you. It can't be borrowed. It can't be outsourced. It has to be owned. When you stop seeking validation, something shifts. You're no longer waiting for his approval to feel secure in yourself. You're not analyzing every word, every text, every glance, trying to decode whether he still likes you. Instead, you're anchored in your own truth. You know who you are, and you know what you bring to the table. That steadiness changes the whole dynamic because now your presence isn't needy. It's strong, it's grounded, it's undeniable. Validation feels good in the moment, but it's addictive. It's like a quick fix that wears off as soon as the next moment of doubt shows up. Confidence, on the other hand, is steady. It doesn't depend on whether he's in a good mood today, whether he noticed your outfit, or whether he sent the right emoji in a text. Confidence is yours regardless of his actions. And when a woman owns that kind of confidence, it doesn't just make her attractive, it makes her unforgettable. Think about the kind of people you're naturally drawn to. It's not the ones constantly asking, "Do you like me? Did I do okay? Am I enough?" It's the ones who walk into a room already knowing they are. They don't need the room to clap for them to feel valuable. They don't need constant reassurance. And that kind of energy pulls you in without them even trying. That's what happens when you stop chasing validation. You start radiating confidence. Now, this doesn't mean you stop appreciating compliments or affection. It means you don't depend on them to feel whole. It means that a kind word from him is a bonus, not a lifeline. It means you can receive his validation without clinging to it because your sense of worth isn't built on shaky ground. That balance makes you stronger, and it makes the connection healthier because you're not showing up out of fear. You're showing up out of choice. The beauty of confidence is that it frees you. You don't feel the need to play small just to be liked. You don't feel pressured to change yourself to fit his expectations. You're able to be bold, to be authentic, to stand tall in your own skin. And that kind of freedom is magnetic because it's rare. Most people are trying so hard to fit into someone else's idea of lovable that they forget to love themselves first. But when you flip that, when you decide to see yourself as enough without anyone's stamp of approval, everything changes. Because the truth is, when you stop needing validation, you stop chasing, and when you stop chasing, you naturally start attracting. And the more you shine in your own skin, the harder it is for him to look away.